Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I haven't talked about something that's going around the internet, but essentially the Lakers are expected to be the front-running favorites, the betting favorites, I guess, in Vegas, to land Zion Williamson. And the first thing that came to mind is it must be within the understanding that the Pelicans would love to have the expiring contract of D'Lo Russell. Otherwise, I don't know why we would have the best package for that particular piece unless he just wants to come to the Lakers. And at this point, I don't know that he has the leverage to demand where he wants to go in any way, or that he's at that space where he can just say, "Hey, I want to go to the Lakers. Send me there." If it didn't work for Dame, I can't see it working for Zion right now. Now, would I want Zion on this team? I think so, man. I think so. I haven't done a full breakdown, you know, of this or thought too much about this. I don't, in a nutshell, believe that this is the most attractive fit for him in the league. I really don't think that. But, understanding that, it's being reported that LeBron's probably going to spend his last year next year. He's probably going to retire at the end of next season. I would love to have Zion Williamson kind of be a part of what we're doing with Anthony Davis. I love the strength of that. And you talk about Anthony Davis needing a center. Zion Williamson is not your typical center, but he can take care of some of that banging that takes, you know what I mean? He can very well play the center position or at the four spot, make it so that the center position is different for Anthony Davis than what it is right now. When you consider how much power Zion could bring to the defensive end in theory. But I don't look at Zion as a lockdown defender, somebody that I'm going to be able to necessarily throw it Jokic or something like that. But when it comes to certain matchups, he takes a lot of pressure off of Anthony Davis in theory on the defensive end. But you don't really, like, if I'm being honest with you, I haven't thought of Zion as a good defender since he was at Duke. He was a good defender there, but he ain't really turned into that. So I look at him as more of an offensive threat. And if he gives me something defensively, then that's wonderful. That's kind of how I'm looking at Zion. So, like, in a nutshell, I would like to have Zion. Now, being consistent, I'm not interested in bringing somebody to me that I'm constantly have to wait on. And Zion's availability has been downright bad for the last 3 years. It ain't been good. You're sitting around waiting for him all day long. So in a nutshell, am I excited about giving away the farm, all my picks, and all my young players to bring in Zion Williamson if I don't expect he's going to be healthy? The answer is no. I'm cool. But in a nutshell, if you're trying to land a superstar and you're trying to land somebody who could take pressure off of AD and Bron, potentially supersede Bron, I think Zion Williamson is an easy call, and he's a buy low candidate. Most of the players that you want to get that with that cachet are going to cost you more than Zion is right now. That's really what it comes down to. He's going to be the cheapest name that is a superstar name. Superstar player. He's going to come the cheapest because of all that's being said about him and the stipulations on his contract. Stipulations that make it so that if he doesn't meet certain criteria, you don't have to pay the whole damn thing. So that makes his contract, in theory, attractive for a team like LA, to where if he messes up, we don't even have to pay all that. So, like, that's why I think Zion's contract, if that's how it's set up, you may have to trade the maximum amount of it, but if he messes up, you don't have to pay the maximum amount of it. So you can find yourself effectively moving on from potential big salary to bring him in, and if everything goes the way that it could go, potentially not actually having to foot that bill. So that's a double win in the sense that you're shedding salary in theory by bringing him in. So let's say if we could talk the Pelicans into taking, Zion Williamson's trade would sound like D'Lo Russell, Gabe Vincent, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and maybe like Max Lewis or something like that. That's probably what it would have to be. Or Rui Hachimura, D'Angelo Russell, and maybe like Jalen Hood-Schifino or something like that. If you're the Pelicans, you take that return, you're out of your mind. If I'm being honest with you, I think that's another reason why I don't see this making much sense to me. If I can't get better for Zion Williamson, I'm probably doing better just keeping Zion Williamson. That's how I feel if I'm David Griffin. And I know that's not popular in LA. Obviously, I'm a Laker fan who would want to win the trade. But there's no way in hell I'm signing off on that if I'm the owner of the Pelicans, especially given the history, how we took AD and how all that went down, what we had to pay to get AD here. I just don't see them giving away Zion uh, at a price tag that we're going to be so very pleased with. So that's really why I'm like, I just don't know where Vegas is coming from. I really don't. I know the Lakers have committed to giving their 2 picks away for the right trade. And for a player like Zion Williamson, the upside is worth that. You definitely think he would play his best ball in your uniform. Put it like that. I think his best days are expected to be ahead of him so long as he doesn't go off a cliff with his health. I think that he has started the process of taking care of his body. And he's still having issues with that because of mistakes that he made early on, eating poorly and stuff like that. But I think if he continues on the habits that he's on, his health expectations should probably be more favorable. And I don't believe that he's entered his prime necessarily. I don't believe the young fella's even 27 years old yet, although I'm not sure. So for me, I think, Zion Williamson is a powerful player, man. I was listening to Gilbert Arenas, and he made all the sense in the world to me when he was talking about Zion and what it is that the Pelicans should have been doing, which is hitting up the Saints, their football team in that state, and asking them how best to work a player out who has the body he does, because ain't nobody else in the NBA got a body like that. And you really do need to put him on a team where I'm not saying he needs to train like a football player necessarily, but he probably should be training closer to football-like ways than basketball-like ways for what it is that his body type is. So I think in some strange way, if he takes well to it, Bron can really help him with that. LeBron would definitely be able to help him with that, seeing how Bron operates, seeing how Bron works out, seeing how Bron takes every possession seriously, things like that. I think could really help Zion Williamson. So that's really what it I guess, in a perfect world, Zion comes here and is ready to put everything from New Orleans behind him, bringing all of the best habits with him that he's accumulated over the last year and shedding all them pounds, and ready to start playing his best ball in his next destination. I guess that's what you're paying for. And I don't think he's considered an old dog. You know what I mean? So you should be able to instill in him better habits going forward. And, I never thought New Orleans was a great place for him. I think, it's easy to see how he can stay, eat too much in New Orleans where they have all the great food and stuff like that. I think LA is a bit more of a fitness town, so he's more likely to fall into fitness culture here than he probably would in New Orleans. And I think everybody really said that from the beginning. So, I would love to see Zion get out of New Orleans. I really would. I don't know if the Lakers, is the best place for him or not, but I would love to see him get out of New Orleans. I would. I think that they are a good team. They got some really nice pieces. I think going forward they could be cool. But this season is supposed to be the season where they have the deepest team they've had, the best starting lineup they've had, and their entire starting lineup is hurt right now, like everybody pretty much. So just to be honest, I think that New Orleans has a really deep team at this point if they can get everybody healthy. I wouldn't be overly surprised if they were a deep playoff team. But the way they're getting off to a slow start and with everybody being hurt, this might be a good time to cash out on Zion Williamson while you have so much talent next, with the team, rather than kind of letting some of that talent dissipate over the next several years, go into different situations, and then try to move Zion. You know what I mean? Letting the contract age a little bit is good for the team it's returning to, or it's going to be good for the traded team. But for them, maybe getting rid of that contract right now makes a little more sense. So I don't know. Obviously, it's been a disappointment in New Orleans for them. They've seen him play well, but he hasn't lived up to the expectations that they had. And, I think he would have a very bright future wherever he goes, so long as he, is committed to keeping his weight down and putting away those old habits. And, take it from somebody who started his life off eating poorly consistently as a child. Even as you start to take care of yourself, as you get older, some of those old habits catch up to you. You may want to have the best workout regimen and eating good now and all of that, but the damage is going to be done from eating poorly and having horrific, habits as a young person. And so I think that's what Zion could also find himself running into, is just having to pay for the old mistakes when it comes to how he used to eat and how he used to operate. And now he wants to stretch, now he wants to take care of himself, but it's like you did too much already. So some of these injuries I think he might be taking on right now are probably a result of that. So it is what it is, man. It's up to Zion who he wants to be. I've seen people lose weight and then them old habits catch up to him and they end up gaining all that weight back quick. You know what I mean? This injury, we got to really monitor him. We got to see how he's doing right now, because he lost a lot of weight, got hurt. Now is he sitting down on the couch, getting back to what he used to do, eating the way he was eating? That's the question. Or is he able to keep his weight down despite this injury keeping him off the court? See, that would tell a story of whether or not I feel comfortable trading for him. Because if he didn't gain back some weight, if he didn't gain like 20 pounds of fat while this injury is going on, then I'm staying away from Zion. He's heading in the wrong direction. You know what I mean? But if he's taking care of himself and he's really serious about doing so, then maybe I'd be more likely to take on his contract if I'm a team that's ready to do that. So for me as a Laker fan, I mean, the package that it would be required to move to get him, I'd be happy to move for him. I would. I do know there's some risk there, but the one thing I always say about making a trade is if I'm trading for a guy, I want to make sure I can eventually retrade him for more. And with Zion Williamson, I think this is a buy low situation. I do think that you're going to make a trade for him and he gets here and he's going to have an all-star year or two in your uniform. If he stays for the next 5 years, he's going to be an all-star in your uniform. So that's my take on Zion. I just think he's a great buy low candidate, really, for any team that wants to trade for him right now. If the Pelicans are serious about moving him, the package should not be really great for the Pelicans. Not in comparison to what it will be for the team that he goes to, if he keeps the right habits. So that's really what it comes down to, man. I like it. If it costs me Rui and D'Lo's contract, I mean, I'd do that right now. I like Rui, but there's a massive upgrade there from Zion Williamson. It's not even worth talking about. It's a massive upgrade. And if they don't want Rui, and they're willing to take even worse, like Gabe Vincent and D'Lo Russell and Jalen Hood-Schifino or somebody, I mean, that would be manna from heaven for the Lakers. That would be the best thing we've ever seen. Would I throw in the 2 picks? If they're taking the worst package, maybe. And that's only because I can convince myself that I could retrade him for more picks later on. But that might not be a good thing if he ends up getting hurt or ends up gaining weight or a combination of both. That's a risk. It's not ironclad. And I think the Lakers, it would probably be in their best interest to make sure that whatever they give those 2 picks for is an ironclad, definitely going to, turn into something more valuable later on type of deal. The risk with Zion might be just a little risky in regards to that. For me, if I'm going to give away 2 picks, I probably want multiple pieces that I think could potentially pop along with the big dog that's coming in. I wouldn't just want Zion. If I'm giving away 2 picks, I'm probably going to want them to throw in Brandon Boston, probably going to want them to throw in Hawkins or something like that. You know what I mean? Obviously, Trigger Murphy III is one of my favorite players. I might be a little too rich to be asking for nothing like that, but that's where my head would be with the Pelicans. Listen, I'd love to have Zion, and I'd be willing to mortgage my entire future, but I can't just bring back his body, give you players and picks, because if he goes to crap, I'm screwed for a long time. Not to mention that this year's team is already shallow, so we would literally not be okay if we did that. So Yeah, man. I think that in a nutshell, if you ask me, you know, gun to my head, do I pull the trigger on a Zion Williamson deal for the package that I'm discussing? Probably. But I think for myself, I question if I got it wrong. When we talked a lot about don't bring yourself names. Don't bring yourself names. You know, we made a whole video about that this morning. Don't be bringing me just a name. And I'm wondering if I'm looking at Zion the wrong way because of the name. And so that's why I'm not overly confident. But if I had to do it, I probably would do it. I probably would, man. For me, I have an affinity for powerful, big dog players because I really genuinely think that when it really comes down to it, even though you may have some clunky spacing here and there, I just find that we would be absolutely impossible to guard. That's really what I see there. You got to deal with Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Zion Williamson. I don't think there's a team in the field that can actually do that. I don't see it. Any of the 29 teams in this league, if I look at each and every one of them, I don't see anyone that has an answer for that much, not that much talent and power and balance. I don't see anybody that have anything that can really throw at that. Not right now. They'd have to go build something that could deal with that. You know, Boston's going to have to launch 100 threes to beat that team. That's what it really comes down to. And the good thing about Zion Williamson and Anthony Davis and LeBron James is I could probably get away with putting one of them at the three. Zion will likely be the one asked to play the three at times, which is hella clunky. But he's not devoid of the ability to stretch the floor. It's not like he's slow in any way. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm trying to hurry up and get him to get back and stuff like that. He's not slowing down this pace of the game. If anything, he speeds it up. And he's cerebral. He can make plays for others. He's a guy who can make passes to Bron and receive lobs from Bron and get the ball to AD. And you know what I mean? It's like he's a fluid player himself. It's not like he's a one-trick pony looking to score only. He rebounds like crazy. He passes very well. He's a triple-double threat. And he's a big-time scorer. 35, 40 points, 28 points. You know, he can score consistently. Now, the question is, during the LeBron James era, could we convince him to be a part of second units? Because there's going to be a world where if we were to bring Zion into this situation, the starting thing doesn't work. And that's crazy. That's absolutely insane. But the reality is we really would have a struggle trying to figure out which one of those two guys, Bron or Zion, would play the three. As I said, that's tough. We having a hard time with Rui playing the three. Zion, I don't see him as a three. I think we would try it, but I could totally see it not working. So could you convince Zion Williamson, an all-star in this league, someone who was first overall in this league, somebody who genuinely believes himself to be a potential all-star someday, that playing off the bench on a LeBron James, Anthony Davis team is what type of sacrifice he should be making at this stage in his career? I don't think he'd be happy in that role. Now, when considering he can go to a million other teams and not have that problem, still contend. So that's another reason why I just don't know that this is the best fit for Zion Williamson right now. Now, 2 years from now, of course, Bron gone, he gonna take the Bron role. But while Bron's here, that's gonna be a thing. And what if Bron decides he doesn't want to retire? The Lakers are going to prioritize Bron over Zion. I can guarantee you they're going to do that. So, yeah, I just don't think this is it. I don't know why the odds are so good, to be honest with you, that he comes here. I don't know if that's just people blowing smoke, propaganda. You know what I mean? That somebody trying to force their client to the LA market. That sounds more likely than what this seems like. Because I just think there are other teams that have much better packages, man. San Antonio has a better package. OKC has a better package. New York should have a better package. Brooklyn has a better package. You know what I mean? There are other teams that can trade for him. You know, a team like Toronto probably has a better package than the Lakers. You know, I could think of probably most of the league has a better package to offer the Pelicans than the Lakers. So I really don't get that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know where the odds are coming from. I don't see it that way. In my mind's eye, in fact, I see the opposite. I think the Lakers are one of the less likely teams to land Zion Williamson, if I'm being honest with you. That don't look real to me. But since it's going around out there, I figured I'd throw my 2 cents in, tell people what I think. And if you told me, hey, we can get Gabe Vincent and D'Lo Russell and 2 other pieces, send them back. Jackson Hayes, you know what I'm saying? On a package like that, I'd do it without any hesitation whatsoever. And I think that anybody who would hesitate in that situation is crazy, to be honest with you. Of course you do that. But it doesn't come without risk, man, because if Zion comes here and has injury issues just like he's been having, you regret it. You'd rather keep what you have, to be honest with you. That's how frustrating injuries have been for our team personally, the Lakers. We just like, man, I don't want another injury-prone guy of any kind, if I'm being completely honest with you. I really don't. Superstar, role player. I just don't want nobody I got to wait on. And so that's really a thing for me, man. But, yeah, that's pretty much what I want to say, man. Am I rooting for the Lakers to get Zion? Sure. For me, I like the idea of bringing in huge, massive, powerful, explosive dudes. I do. I would take a Zion Williamson over a Dame Lillard any day of the week, y'all. I really would. That's a no-brainer for me. I just prefer size, strength, and power. That's just my preference in the type of sport that I like. But spacing is important. Defense is important. Availability is important. But for me, 300 pounds, pure muscle, arguably the most powerful player we've seen since Shaq. Of course, you go after him if you can. BDO 44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.